the music because it was the soundtrack for the tribe. That the dress that evolved, the dancing that evolved, the lingo that evolved, the way that they could talk to each other, all of which connected people. And that's why when Jerry died, there was this loss, not because I can't listen to the records anymore, of course I can, but because the leader of the tribe was gone, leaving a hole in the middle of the donut. Here's a site you probably haven't been to called Piano World. More than 1 million posts so far. People go to Piano World and post things like, this top one, I'm going to have a party on September 6th in Auburn, Maine. Come play the piano. And 20 or 30 people will come to this woman's house where she has a Steinway, and they'll all play piano for each other. And they may not know each other when they arrive, but of course they do know each other, because they've met on the boards and because they love this central idea. It also works at work. This is a woman named Mitch Matthews. Mitch is Senior VP of Marketing at Microsoft. She runs a tribe of 2,000 marketers at Microsoft. None of them report to her, maybe 3. But they all talk the same. They believe the same things. They wear the same clothes, even though they work in offices across the world. Once or twice a year, they get together for a big event, which is where I met her. And what was fascinating is, by creating this culture, this belief system, she is managing them by leading them, by creating an environment where they're all on the same page. So yeah, the tribes thing works at work as well. This is a hero of mine named Bo Taylor. I never got to meet Bo. He died a few months ago. Bo Taylor grew up on the wrong side of Los Angeles. He was a member of the Crips. And he spent his entire young life, before he was 25, fighting against the Bloods to the death. That is a really profound, clear tribe, and with all of the things that go with that. And after the riots in LA, he realized what was happening and devoted the rest of his life to trying to get the two tribes to work together, to do something other than be committed to destroying each other. This is a friend of mine, Megan Casey. She runs the tribe at Squidoo. Now I have to use the word runs really carefully because you don't get to tell people in the tribe what to do. But you can lead them. You can give them a platform. You can elevate the people who are making the biggest differences and help them have more influence on the others. And that's what she does all day. There are almost no organizations I know of that have people who do that all day. But once you commit an organization to it, or the leader of an organization to it, it changes what you do all day. How do you know who Gary Vee is? And right? Look at this. Here's a guy with no media connections, starting with no investment, who now has millions of people around the world who listen to him and follow him when he wants to talk about what he's passionate about. And that what he's getting really good at is connecting you to each other so that he actually has to spend less time doing it and more value is created. If we look at the nonprofit world, we've got Kiva versus the United Way. Now, I'm a fan of the United Way. My dad ran it as a volunteer one year when I was growing up. But the United Way is all about the old way of doing it. Top down, payroll deductions. We'll go to big corporations and we'll interrupt you once a year to get you to pay us. Kiva said, wait, that's not the way it's going to work in the future. So Kiva doesn't want anyone to give them money. What Kiva says is, here's a bunch of people who want a loan. Here's a bunch of people who want to be connected to each other and make loans. Let's introduce them to each other and get out of the way. And as a result, fastest growing charity, probably in history, #1 charity online. So let's take a second here and talk about some of the dynamics of what's happening in this tribal thinking. It starts, as most of my thinking does, with the death of the factory. The factory thinking, making lots and lots of stuff and shipping it out, doesn't work like it used to. And factory thinking is built around the idea of a king. Royalty has affected the way we think about a lot of stuff. The king, his court, the decrees, following what the top leader says. And if you're a CEO of a major corporation, or you are a senior official in a major religion, you are used to standing at the front and shooting things at the back of the room. You have organized everything you're doing on this mindset. This mindset of saying, I am in charge, I worked really hard to get here, everyone else is downstream from me. The internet, of course, changes that. We don't have 6 degrees of separation anymore, we have 4, more and more people connected. But I'm not talking about how many friends you have on Facebook. It's irrelevant. I'm not talking about how big your LinkedIn network is. That's not a tribe. Those are people who really just won't complain if you spam them now and then. I'm talking about something more important. I'm talking about movements. Groups of people who want to make change happen. And that's important because things don't spread because you want them to. Things spread because other people want them to, because I want them to. I'm going to tell someone because it's good for me, not good for the guy who owns the Momofuku restaurant. So if you're the brand manager for Tide, you have a problem. And the problem is everything in your business is based on the old model, on your efficient factory, on your ability to get shelf space, on the money you have to buy ads. And if you're sitting there saying, I deserve a tribe, I deserve to lead people, how are we going to build a network for people who want clothes cleaner than clean? You're delusional. It's not going to happen. That doesn't mean you're going to go out of business, but it does mean you're not going to grow. Not going to grow like you used to, because none of us care about cleaner than clean. And until you come up with something we care about, we're going to ignore you. Really interesting to think about the Whole Foods market. Whole Foods market fooled themselves into thinking they had a tribe. Because when you went to all their markets, the same sort of people were there. And they gave each other a little nod, and they shared a lifestyle. But then Whole Foods said, wait, we're public, we need to make more money. Let's raise the prices, build more stores, get more people to come. Instead of saying, wait a minute, what we can do for a living here is be purveyors and connectors to a special tribe, right? A smaller tribe. Instead, they went the old model. They acted like Procter and Gamble. They viewed their customers as just customers, people to make money from. So we stop here and say where we are. Tribes are faster and longer lasting and more powerful, but they are not free. Right? They're not free because they take a huge amount of effort. And that effort is an expense. It's a commitment. It's a moral obligation. And that what most marketers will do and will fail at is they'll do it because they're going to make a living at it. They'll do it because it's the only alternative to doing what they want to do, which is buying more TV ads. And so the giant warning, and the fascinating thing, reading the book just before I sent it in, I said to myself, wait a minute. Most of this book is not about what I just talked about for the last 25 minutes. Most of this book says, okay, if you want to do that, there are no tactics I can tell you. There are no 5-step approaches. There are no easy ways to manipulate people into following you. None of that will work. And rather than pretending it will work and doing what a lot of people would have really liked, which is do these 7 things, check off these 6 boxes, and say these 7 incantations, I called the marketer's bluff. And I said, you can't do it that way. I got an old slide in there. I don't know how I did that. There we go. You can't do it that way. That what you have to do is something fundamentally different. It's not business as usual. The Mormon Church, well known for being the fastest growing church in American history. And a lot of people think they grow because the missionaries go door to door ringing bells, which is basically human spam. Ring the bell, interrupt people who don't want to hear from you, move on. But if you look deeply into the numbers, what you see is that they grow because 4 people become a community of 8 or 16. Neighbors talking to neighbors, family members talking to family members. That it is, in fact, classic tribal behavior. If we talk about Gar Reynolds for a minute, Gar Reynolds runs presentationzen.com. How many of you have been to the site? How many of you have bought the book? Okay, so last year, 125,000 or more, I can't remember the number, books got published in the United States. Among new authors, maybe 12 made it to the Amazon 500, and maybe 2 made it to the Amazon top 50 for the year, and Gar Reynolds was one of them. So I look at Gar Reynolds, and I don't know what he looks like, so I had to take a picture of one of his slides instead. The fact that I don't know what he looks like is important to the story. Because not only did I buy a copy of his book, but according to my Skidoo page, I sold hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of copies of his book, because I blogged about it, because I'm a member of his tribe. It's a movement of people who are sick and tired of bullet-filled, ugly PowerPoint presentations. And I benefit when that group of people, the ones who are making the ugly presentations, get the message that Gar is sending. And I find that when I meet someone who makes presentations like I make presentations, that we like each other. Just like sometimes when I meet someone in Whole Foods, it turns out we like each other. What Gar did, though, is he really led this tribe. He connected this tribe. He was generous with the tribe. He created a movement around an idea. And when the book came out, it was merely a souvenir.